Hi, and this is going to be the first in a series of tutorials to help you in using your web host manager, or what we'll refer to throughout these as WHM. One of the first things you have to do, of course, is to log in into your WHM. And to do this, you can use the domain name and then either the port here. You'll see the colon and the 2086, or initially you can go to your domain name /WHM. Then you just enter in your username and password. Here we have successfully logged into our WHM, and any news updates from the actual providers of WHM will be underneath this link here. To log out at any time, you click here. Here is this right here is some basic information about your server. One of the main things you'll want to pay attention to here is your load averages. Depending upon whether it's a VPS or reseller account or a dedicated server, it can mean various things. For these tutorials, we're going to use a reseller account. One of the first questions most people will ask is, well, what's the difference? Well, between WHM and cPanel. Well, with WHM, it's more a look at it as a overall control for your web hosting package or server. And cPanel, as I'm sure most of you will be aware, is the control for an individual account. As you can see here, this is just the cPanel for just the one domain. Let's see, now navigating around WHM. It's a pretty simple process. Everything is listed here on the left side. One of the really nice features about this is if you're looking for something you really can't find it, it has an autocomplete here search that as you type something in, it will search through any of the options and list it. For example, if we're wanting something to do with say delete account, we can put in delete, and then all the options. We got delete a package, DNS zone, and terminate account. Even though you didn't type in terminate, this will actually search through, and it does have some keywords that will help you find what it is you're looking for. Now this tutorial, we're done now. This just covered the basic logging in, the difference between WHM and cPanel, and also a brief introduction to navigating through it. Hi, and welcome to video 2 in our series of tutorials for learning to use your WHM. Now, one of the first things that you'll need to do is set up some packages. So, as I said, explained in the first one, you have the full menu here, but like I also showed you, I personally myself prefer the method of just using the auto search. And it comes up packages. You can add a package. One of the first, choose a package name. Now, if this is going to be for personal hosting, i.e. just only your domain names, the package name can be anything. If you're going to be doing reselling, I very highly suggest that you use a common name that your users would recognize, something like general or basic, or a name that would actually go along with your hosting company. So for the purpose of the tutorial, we're going to call this the basic package. You have your disk quota in megabytes, and we'll just give them a gig of space to begin with. Monthly bandwidth. Now this is the total bandwidth usage. This is in and out, which means FTP is also figured into it. So let's just give them 5,000 megabytes. Now, please note this doesn't mean that this is going to be 5 gigs. For it to be 5 gigs, it would actually be 5 times 1024. Maximum FTP accounts One usually suffices because you only have one username. Now, if you're going to have developers working on your site, of course you'd want to do two and make them their own FTP account. Maximum email accounts, let's just do a 10. Email list, your maximum databases. Now, one of the things to note here is for your park domains and add-on domains. Again, if it's for your personal hosting, doesn't really matter. However, with if you're going to be reselling hosting, having your own clients and users, you would actually want to really limit your park domains and add-on domains, and then have a higher package and lift and raise the numbers to increase the value and to encourage upgrading. Here, with the maximum percentage of failed or deferred messages to own a domain may send. Sometimes you can't edit this. It all depends on how your reseller account is set up and what permissions it has. Just as you notice here, you can't set up for dedicated IP or shell access. Front page extensions. These are really obsolete, and I highly recommend not enabling them. The cPanel theme. Generally, it's going to be X3. That's the most current one that comes with cPanel. Now, on this server, it's my own hosting company, my own personal server, and I love the look and the feel of clean panel. Feature list, the default feature list. We'll get to that in another tutorial, and we simply hit add. We get the successful message. It's created. Now, what happens if you made a mistake or misspelled the package name or whatever? You simply go to edit a package, choose the package, and you edit it. You don't want to use this package anymore, you can delete this one. You can delete it simply by going to delete a package. And that's it. It really is that simple to add, edit, and delete a package in your WHM. In our previous video on creating and editing packages, we saw an option in it for the feature manager. And at the time I said I would explain a little bit about it at a later time. So this video is going to be about the feature manager. Once again, we'll just do a simple search to bring it up. And as you can see, it brings up the feature manager. Now what this is, generally whenever you log into your reseller account for the first time, you will have the default feature manager option package, which is from whoever you've purchased your reseller account, is what they have set up for default. Now again, if this is for you, just for your websites, this option really isn't very applicable. But if you're going to be reselling any of the space at all, this can be another way that you can really fine-tune what you offer with each hosting package. So what we're going to do is make a feature list name. Let's go with basic again. So we add it. Now this next page is all the different features in cPanel that is currently available. And you just go through here, and what you want to have show, it's checked off. If you do not want it to be an option to be shown in the cPanel itself for the actual account, you just uncheck it. So if you don't want them to have access to, say, Fantastico, the auto script installer for the basic package, and you want to have an upgraded package and offer it in that, the way you would do it is set up different feature packages. So you just uncheck what you don't want to offer in the basic one. When you get down to the bottom, you save it. Now it's saved, and if you go back to the feature manager, you'll see it listed. Now again, from here you can edit the package at any time and take away or add options, or you can delete it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the package that we made just a few minutes ago, in our previous video, and we're going to edit the package. And for this, we're going to actually change the feature list from the default to the basic feature list that you just made. It's saved, and now you have a basic package with a basic set of features. And now you can create another package and offer even more features. As I said, to provide an upgrade package option for your users. And this will end this tutorial, as it just covered adding feature packages and then editing your actual hosting package to assign it. Hi, and welcome to our ongoing series of tutorials for your WHM. Now, let's just, we're going to start this assuming that you've already logged into your WHM. If you don't know how to do that, the very first video of this series explains how to do so. Okay, now in this tutorial we're going to cover how to have those nifty pages like HostGator and some of the other larger hosting companies has whenever the accounts are created. It's really simple. Go ahead and design a page out, whatever you want the default page to be, how you want it to look, include the images and everything. Save it just like you're going to upload it to one of your domains, and then we're going to install it into what's referred to as a skeleton directory. This right here gives you the exact path. So in other words, what you'll do is you'll FTP into your main reseller account, and this will be whatever domain it is that you use to log into your WHM, and be the domain that you used to set up the account when you purchased your hosting, your reseller hosting, sorry. And you simply upload the files to this folder. That is all you do. And whenever you create a new account on your in your WHM, any file that's in the folder there will be copied to it. So if you want to have a default fave icon, put it in the skeleton directory folder, and whenever you set up a new account, it'll be copied to it automatically. The same as a default robots text or a default htaccess file. You just simply upload it here to the skeleton directory, and each time a new account is created, these files will be copied over to it, and when the domain loads, that is what will be seen until you replace it with a new default, or until your user uploads their website. Now, this only applies to any account created after a file is uploaded. So if you add a favorite icon after you've already created 5 accounts, those 5 will not have the new fave icon. It's just any other account that you create after that. That's all it is to it. I know that it does enhance the professionalism of your hosting company, or even if it's just you using it for your websites, it gives a default page to where if someone goes to that domain, they just don't see nothing or a listing of your files with a CGI bin showing. Be sure to check out our other tutorials, and as always, thank you for your time today. Okay, now we are going to edit the account suspended page, and this is one of the last things to do before we start adding accounts. Even if you've been had your own WHM for a while, chances are most people don't know how simple it is to edit it. So we put in account, and down here we see the web template editor. So we want to go there, and we want to choose the account suspended. Now, if all you want to do is change the message that's showing, you can just scroll down here using the editor and then just change it here. You can preview, save. You can always revert back to the one before, or even all the way back to the default one, which is what I have here. You can also code your own page and then upload the template here. And with this, I generally just always just put a link in that links to the payment area, so they can pay to either upgrade their account or any bills that's owing. Now that's it. It's that simple. And now we're going to move on to adding accounts in the next video. Hi, and welcome to the latest tutorial in our ongoing series, adding accounts. This is the main reason why you would want to have a reseller account with a WHM. I know people will say, well, I can get a hosting account from XYZ host for $5 a month. Why should I have a reseller account with WHM? This is the reason why. Each domain you have will have its own cPanel. I mean, it's not a cPanel with 50 add-on domains, and as anyone can tell you that has worked with this, it can be a headache just adding or changing pages for any site. It's very easy to make a mistake. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to add a new account, and you can either go to account functions or do what I'd love to do is just use the shortcut search here. Create a new account. Okay, what you'll be able to do here on this page, and if it's a reseller account, your account limits, your account bandwidth, it's how much is allocated, and with each package it'll show you how many you can make of each one of them. Okay, now again, this is just a demo account setup, so as you can see, our bandwidth and everything showing allocated. So it shows we're out of bandwidth. But for this, we'll just go through the steps. So we'll have the domain. As you type in the domain name, it'll create your own username. So we're just going to use bing.com for this example. Bing.com. Click here, username. There's the username. Password. If this is for you, I always highly recommend don't use the same password for all your accounts. It's just an exploit waiting to happen. It just takes one mistake, someone get a password for one of your sites, try it for the rest of them, and now you have issues. I use a password generator. Generally I go to advanced and I just go with numbers, not the symbols, because it makes it hard to remember. Always copy and paste it, even though you'll get an email with it sent to the email that's set up for the reseller account. It's always good to just save it. So we generate the password, we check off that we've copied it, and we're going to use it. Email, again, this would either be for your client's email or yours. It's important to use this because this is where all notifications will be sent. If you happen to run out of disk space or bandwidth, an email will be sent to the account, so you know. Choose a package. Now this is red because it cannot use it in limits, but you could choose the basic or this one, and it'll go there. The locale, 99% of the time it's English. I always leave it for default, and if a client wants to change it, they can. Now for the DNS settings, I always check off this enable SPF. Just makes it easier for future. Some web servers, if an email sent, will try to verify that it's a legitimate email, and they will use this. Gmail is one of the world's worst about using it, and if anything's a bit wonky, your email will not go through. I don't check this, I just leave it, because if you're reselling the hosting, sometimes the clients are a bit slow at changing the DNS. And the mail routing settings, you can either automatic or local mail exchanger. I just use the local, that way there's no mistake. Go for the create, we'll click the create button, and then the account's created. You'll get a results page. And you'll also get an email to the reseller's account email. Now you've made an account and you're ready to go. Okay, now that we have an account made, what if the user changed the password and now they can't remember it, or if it's your domain, you can't remember what the password is? What do we do? Well, the simple answer is we just change the password using the WHM. Now, again, you can go through your account information or account functions, or we can use the quick search. Password modification, select the account that needs a new password. There, you can enter the password in. You hit change password and it's changed. I always check off allow MySQL password change. It just changes it for the root user of the domain, and really shouldn't cause any problems at all. Now, if you don't use the shortcut search, we go to, see there's the password modification on this one. And another way of doing it is you go to list accounts. You'll see this little plus sign here. Click down and you can change it right here. Also in this, as a little side note, you can change the quota or even change the plan of the account. WHM is one of the best tools that I know for managing reseller hosting or just a reseller account for your domains. Okay, so you have your account set up, your sites are running, and you get an email advising that you are about to go over your bandwidth, or you're about to run out of space, or you have a user who has either upgraded or downgraded. So what do? You simply modify the account. Once again, I just go to the search, quick search, and we want to upgrade or downgrade an account. You choose the domain. All the information loads for you here. If you mouse over, as you'll see here, you'll get a rundown of what the account has and then the email for the account owner. Choose modify and you can choose an available package. You can also do multiple accounts. You can check off all the one. If you had 10 accounts here, you could check off all 10. You could change the locale, which would change the language for them. And then you can do a mass change for changing packages also. There are other options on modifying accounts throughout WHM, and I'll show you a few here, and I would encourage you to just explore them too. We have account functions, the upgrade, downgrade, the quota modification. You can modify the actual space on an individual basis too. So that way, even though you may have a basic package assigned to this account, you can double the quota. You can change the bandwidth. You can go to unlimited or change it to a different one too. And this just allows you to fine-tune your accounts even more. This is really useful for if you're just using the reseller account just to host your own domains. And if you're working within a limited resources for the account, this just allows a much finer control over it. And yeah, that's how you modify an account. You can modify, as I showed you, the entire package, just the space or the bandwidth. We covered the password in another tutorial for you. Yeah, and I'll see you again in the next one. Hi, and welcome to the WHM tutorial for suspending and unsuspending accounts. Chances are that one day you'll need to suspend or unsuspend account, even if it's just your accounts on the reseller hosting package. The reason could be you could get a notification from the company that you purchased the reseller hosting from that you need to suspend an account for server abuse or for investigation of spam or any number of reasons. So this is what all you have to do. You go to the quick search, type in suspend, manage account suspension, choose the domain that you want to suspend, or you can also do it by username. And here's a reason for your note. Reason for suspensions, and you choose suspend. Now, of course, since this is the main reseller account, we cannot suspend it, but on this page it would show that the account has now been suspended. Now, once it's been suspended, and if you want to make it live again, you can go to unsuspend, manage account suspended. Now, the account that's suspended, any accounts that you have that are suspended, will be highlighted in red. So it makes it really easy to find if you have, say, 100 accounts. You click it to highlight it, and you just click unsuspend. Then it'll process. The next page will tell you that the account has been unsuspended with a success message, and the account will be back live. Now, always check accounts after you've unsuspended them, because there has been a problem in the past, not in the last 6 months of updates, but in the past there has been an issue with the htaccess files getting overwritten. So it's always advisable to immediately check the site that you just unsuspended. And that is how you suspend and unsuspend accounts using your WHM. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to terminate an account using the WHM. So you have sold a domain, or you have a client that's leaving, or you just decided to let the domain expire. And now you just want to clean up the server, free up some space, and so you're just going to terminate it. Again, to the quick search and terminate an account. Now you can search for it by domain or by user. It'll auto finish for you as you type, or if you can find it up here. You simply highlight it, and for this you'll see that there are additional options, which is keep the DNS on. If you have just moved the account, or if you think there's a possibility you may move it back, keep the DNS on. If it's gone for good, you just check, do not check this, leave it blank, and you click terminate. It'll come up with the confirmation, boom, and then it's gone. On terminate multiple accounts, here would be a listing of all accounts, and you just check them off, and then you must enter in this phrase right here. Everything between the quotation marks has to be here, or it will not delete them. And then you destroy selected accounts, and then they're gone. It frees up all the space that these accounts have been using, and puts everything back into the pool to be allocated for new accounts. So all the bandwidth and all the space is now released back to the pool total, to where you can create more accounts or divvy it up between your other accounts. And that is how you terminate an account using your WHM. In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to edit the MX settings or the mail server settings for domains using your WHM. Usually clients just have no idea on how to change any settings for the mail server. And then this comes in handy if they want to use Google, or I should say Gmail, to handle their emails, or if they've bought a third-party service that you've seen them, they advertise less spam, etc., etc., and they'll have no idea how to do it. So they'll ask you to do it, or you may decide that you want to run everything through MS Exchange at another provider. Instead of going into cPanel, you can do this easily from WHM. So you just go to, again, the quick search, and you hit MX. You're going to edit the MX entry. Choose a domain, you click on it, it highlights it, and it'll show it here grayed out. Edit. Here you can use backup. As you can see, there's a backup mail exchanger, local mail exchanger, etc. But if you want to actually make the entries, here's where you'll do it. You can edit these and save. You can actually add a third or fourth field if you want backup mail servers. Anything that you need to do with the MX entries, you can handle here. You can delete them also. Now I'm not going to do anything here because it'll just create interruptions to the actual domain here that I have. So I'm not going to do that, but that is all you have to do. A quick note, as you'll see here with each of the mores, it'll give you a brief little explanation underneath it. However, chances are you already know what you want to do, simply based on either your user's input or from whatever service you're going to be using instructions. And that's how you edit the MX entries. Hi, and welcome to the WHM tutorial for editing the DNS of any of the domains on the WHM accounts. So you've get a request from a user, or you've gotten instructions for a provider of a script or a third-party service for one of your domains, and they want you to edit your DNS settings for that domain. You can do that here in your WHM with very little issue at all. Now, as you can see from the quick search, we typed in DNS, and all DNS options come up. Now, you can click the main one here that says DNS functions, and what that'll do will carry you to a page that lists all of these again. But we already know we want to edit a DNS zone, so we click it. We choose the zone we want to edit, which means which domain that we want to make DNS edits for. You choose edit. And here's all the current DNS settings for this domain that's on the server. RFTP, www, localhost. Most of the time you'll not be touching any of these. You'll actually be adding a new one. And I would say 99.9% of the time you'll have specific instructions from the provider on what to edit. And here's where you would add the new ones. Say we were going to use a service from one of the marketing third-party service providers out there, and they told us that we're going to need an entry for let's say lists.yourdomain.com, and then they will tell you if it needs to be an A record or C name record or even a text record. So we'll say a C name, and then they'll give you a host name here, and that would be whatever information they give you. Now with an A record, it's usually either an IP or a host name. So you would enter that information in, and you would hit save. It would carry you to the next page, which would be a success page. And now you've edited your DNS for the domain, and you've added whatever information that you were provided with to add. And that's simply just how you edit the DNS of any of the domains that's currently hosted on your server. In this tutorial, you will learn how to park a domain using the WHM instead of going to an individual cPanel account. So we'll just use the quick search for park and choose park a domain. Now for this, you choose the primary domain, which would mean the account that you want to park the domain on. Click it till it's highlighted. Now you just simply enter in the new domain that's going to be parked. Once that's done, you click submit, and the WHM will automatically create a DNS entry for the domain. And then once name servers have changes have taken effect, it'll be viewable via the internet, and it will now show up in the cPanel account as a parked domain. Now, at the same time, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you simply how to list parked domains. And what this does is when you click the list parked domains, it will give you a breakdown of every domain that's in this reseller account, or if you are using a VPS or dedicated server, on the entire server. It's just a quick reference. It's easy to find out who the domain account owner is, in case you ever have to contact them or suspend the main account on it. And you'll notice here also that there is a link for listing subdomains that's actually in this account. And in this, it'll show the subdomain name, the user, which is the cPanel username, and the actual domain that is the primary one on the account. And now you know how to park a domain without having to log into the individual cPanel account. In this tutorial, you will learn how to generate a remote access key. Now this key is something that some scripts that will auto-create accounts for you require. From my experience, generally it will just be web hosting accounts that script that will ask for this, but you still need to know how to do it. Again, with the quick search, we just start typing in remote, and it comes up. As you can see, there is one here. Now, if you have never done this before, I always suggest generate a new key. Now it's just ready. Now, in any script that asks for the remote access key, we can use this key, because what this does is you don't have to use your account login and password, which makes it secure. So your account password's not floating around anywhere. Then it's very secure because it has to match exactly, and you know what, it's almost impossible for someone to be able to duplicate this out of the blue without having access to the actual key itself. And with this key, like I said, many of the popular web hosting scripts use it. Some domain name interactions will use it also. And remote clustering, which generally, if you have a reseller account, you will never have any need for it. But if you do, now you know how to do it. In this tutorial, you will learn how to generate and install and activate your SSL certificates for a domain that's on your site. Now, the first thing to make sure of is that you have a dedicated IP set up for the domain that you are going to want to put the SSL certificate on. since we're focusing mainly on the reseller WHM today, you will have to have your provider that you purchased the account from handle the delegation of the dedicated IP. Now, so we're going to proceed with the presumption here that you have the domain, it's on a dedicated IP, and now you're ready to get your SSL. So we will use the quick search again, and there's only 3 steps to this, so and it's really not complicated. The first thing we want to do is generate a signing request. The reason that we do this first is simply because whomever you use to purchase the SSL certificate, this is what they will want. You're in the email, a password, which is whatever password you want. So I would just use the generate password and make it so it'd be really strong. We'll use the password. The host to make the cert for. Now, the really great thing about cPanel and SSL certificates is you want to get it just for the domain itself. You don't want to put www in front of it. The reason being is with cPanel, the SSL will secure the www dot automatically with it. Where if you put the www dot, that is all it will secure. It won't secure just the domain name. Now, you also want to make sure on doing this that you know the URL that you want to make secure. For example, if you have a shopping cart on a subdomain that is store dot your domain, that is what you have to use for the certificate, unless you buy a wildcard cert, which is rather pricey. They run about $260 a year. And for most day-to-day transactions, the $10 a year one will work just fine. So we're going to use the WHMforme.com. The city is going to be where you're located at. Yes, I am located in Canada. The company name and the division. I always use internet. Contact information. This is the email address it'll be sent to, and you put in whatever you want to get a copy at. Since this is just for demonstration purposes, I'll just use a Gmail one. And we create it. Okay, certificate, this portion right here, we're not going to worry about, because simply, this is what they refer to as a self-signed certificate, and is next to useless for any SSL transactions. This portion right here, all of this here, is what you will paste into wherever you're buying the SSL at. So you'll enter this in like the second step of the purchase. You'll always use the cPanel. They actually have a drop down for the web server you're using. It'll say Apache, Plesk, Ensum, a few more, and cPanel's in there, and that's what you'll choose. You'll paste this, finish that process, go to the checkout. Now, an important thing to remember here is you will have to confirm the SSL request, and it will be an email at the domain that you're submitting for, or an email that's in the whois information for the domain. That's just a side note so that you don't get to the last step and uh-oh, there's no way to confirm it. You go through that, you'll confirm it. Some are instant. I use Enom. I find that if you purchase between 9 and 5 normal business hours for Central Standard Time, you'll have your certificate within 15 minutes. If you purchase it in the middle of the night, it'll be several hours before you get it, because they do a quick check to make sure that everything's above board with it. Okay, so here we go. We've done all of that, and now we have it. And they'll send it to you in a text file. And what you'll do is you'll open up the text file, you'll copy and paste. And you'll paste it here, right here. And when you paste it, all of this information will fill out for you on cPanel. That's the beautiful thing about cPanel. The CA bundle, I've never had to use that. Any of this. And you can use fetch and the key file will come in. And once that's done, you click submit. And you're done. It should be activated immediately for your domain. And you'll be able to test it and ensure that it is secure now. If at any time you need to manage the host, well, there's none set up here, obviously. But if it will be listed here, and you can click to remove it, remove any certs, install a new cert. Say you upgraded and you got a wildcard certificate, you can remove the old one and install the new one via here. Really simple, it's fast, and using cPanel, it's very hard to make any mistakes at all with it. This concludes this tutorial for SSL certification in certificate install and creation. Welcome to the tutorial on configuring your cPanel news. Now, if you are going to be reselling one account or 10 accounts, this can be a pretty nifty feature to advise your users of new features or changes that's upcoming without having to send out a lot of emails or keeping track of who you've contacted and told this information to. You simply go to the quick search again, type in news, and there's the cPanel WHM news. As it says, it'll be displayed in all your customers' cPanels. You can use HTML tags and always use the break. Even if you're not using any other HTML tag, use the break for the lines. I'm sure that you've already seen it from other hosting companies or from other accounts that you've had that use cPanels. This can be a nice feature. And this concludes the tutorial on your news and how to modify it in your WHM. Welcome to how to move an add-on domain from a crowded cPanel over to your reseller account. The sad thing about this is cPanel hasn't addressed this in several years. There's no really easy way of doing this. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the steps to follow to do this and do it successfully. It's 3-4 simple steps, but a lot of people feel intimidated by it and are afraid to attempt it. So this tutorial should help you to be able to do this with full confidence that it's done right, done completely, and done by yourself. Okay, to save time, I've gone ahead, I've logged into an account that has an add-on domain, and on that domain is a WordPress installation. Well, so the first thing we're going to do is go to the quick search, and we're going to do, so you can see the add-on domain. It's an add-on. It shows us exactly where it's at. in the file manager, which is important for what we're going to do next. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the file manager. And again, you can always use the quick search within cPanel. So we're going into file manager. We want the domain that we're going to move. We want to go to it. We want to show hidden files. And we're going to go. Now the reason I went into the domain instead of the domain folder itself is we're going to create a zip file. And this zip file is going to contain the entire website. So what we did, I clicked on the WP admin, and then I held down my control button and clicked at the bottom of the files. We don't want the CGI bin, or we really don't need it, because we're going to be adding, we're going to be creating its own account for it. So we don't need it. So as we go here, you can see the compress files. So we'll press the compress, and we'll just go with the zip, and we'll name it something here, site move, and hit compress files. Generally it does it pretty fast. Okay, so now we're there. What we're going to do? Well, we're going to hit the reload, and we're going to find it, and we are going to, we right clicked here, and we're going to choose download, and we want to save the file, and we're going to save it to our desktop just so it's there. I've already got this set up, but a lot of places it'll give you the option where to save it to, and just save it to your desktop. It's the best way of knowing where it's at and finding it easy. So now we're done with the file manager for this. We're going to close the tab. We're going to go back home. Now we know it's WordPress, so we know there is a database. Now some will tell you go to phpMyAdmin and download it. Now that works, but I'm going to show you an easy way of doing this. Okay, what we want to do is go to backups, choose it. Okay, database, and here's our database. So we want to download a backup of it. We're going to save the file, and it's going to save to our desktop. Okay, once you've verified that they are downloaded, here comes the scary part for a lot of people. Okay, we're going to remove the add-on domain. And the reason we're going to do this is it's on the same server. We've upgraded to a reseller account, and it's an add-on. And it's going to have to be removed so we can actually create it as a legitimate web hosting account. So we go to our add-on, and we get ready to remove. Now I want to stress that at this point you need to be able to dedicate the next 15 to 20 minutes solely to get the site back up and running. That'd be the biggest amount of downtime you're going to have. That's it. So we're going to remove it. Yes, we do. Okay, so it's removing. So we're going to go over to our reseller account, and we've already done this in another tutorial, but we're going to create a new account. So we use create a new account, and we're going to use, there's the, and I just going to enter in password for me here. email we want to use. And we're going to create it. Now, if you're watching this happen, you'll notice that the skeleton files were copied over. So it would have the default page there, or whatever you have in your skeleton file directory that we addressed back several tutorials ago. As we can see, it's all done. Everything's ready to go. So we want to go to our new cPanel. Okay, nothing's here, as we can all tell. So we go to cPanel and we log in. Okay, we've logged in. So the first thing we want to do is go to our file manager. We want to access the main document root. And we want to upload. And we will browse. And we will choose the one that we've just uploaded. And you'll have a progress meter here as it uploads through it. You know, depending on your connection, it can take just a minute or two or several minutes, and it also depends upon the file size. If you have a ton of themes and plugins, of course it's going to take much longer. The reason we log into cPanel instead of going through the reseller, clicking on the cPanel to load it, is because we're going to be working with databases. And it's just simpler and it makes sure that there's going to be no issues at all when we go to assign users. And okay, we're complete, so we'll want to close this down because we're just uploading there. And we will reload, and there is our zip file. So we're going to select it, and we're going to choose extract. And where do we want to extract it to? The main folder. And we are done with that. We're going to leave this open just for a minute because we're going to have a little bit of editing here to do to the config file. Now, with that done, we are going to go to backups, and we're going to restore the database we just downloaded. So we're going to browse, and we're going to upload it and let it restore. You'll see it's done. It's restored, ready to go. Again, it can be slower if you have a larger database file. Okay, it's like, oh, okay, what do we do now? Well, we have the database in place, but we need to add a database user to it. So we go back to home. Oh, look at me. I'm just scrolling down. You could use your search to find it too. And we just want to go to the MySQL databases option. Here is the database name. And so we want to add a new user. For this one, I'm just going to call it something really fast like new user. It doesn't really matter what it's going to be. So it's whatever works for you. Same for the password. And of course with this it makes it simple. It lets you know if anything's wrong and if you mistyped anything. And so we want to create the user. Okay, after we created it, it will actually tell you what the password is again. So we created that user with this password, so we go back. Now we want to add it to the database. We see the database here, user here, we add. I just always give it all privileges. It just makes sure that you're not going to have any issues. So we make the changes. Okay, now we have the new user and it was added to the database. Now this is, just leave this page open here and get ready to start to copy and paste. So we go back to our file manager, we locate our wp-config file, we click it, and we choose edit. I always just use the basic text editor with this. Right here's the only lines we worry about changing. It's the database name, which we have, and it's right here. So you paste it. We go back to the user. We copy and paste it too. And there's the username. It tells you right here in the code. And then we have the password right here. That's all we need to edit. That's all you need to edit. There's not really any huge database changes to make simply because we're using the same domain name. So we'll save the changes. It's looking pretty good all the way through. So when we want to just test our site here. Okay, we're there to that. We F5. And our blog is loading, it's moved, it's live, it's resolved, it's working. Now, of course, you always want to go into your WordPress admin, make sure that images are looking okay and everything else, but the main thing is you've now moved your site. You did it in just a couple of minutes, and you can do this over and over and over. To get all the add-on domains off of the one domain into your reseller account, and it makes it easy to sell sites, to move sites. It just makes your life easier and things less complicated. And this concludes the tutorial on how to move an add-on domain onto your reseller account.